Hello and welcome to Bitfumes. I'm your host Sarthak, and this video we are going to create something crazy. We are going to create this kind of chat system where you are going to chat with your MySQL database. So here is the connection details to connect to the database. Once connected, then you can ask any question and then you will get the response just like this. We are going to use Langchain, we are going to use Ollama. You can use any LLM model just like OpenAI or anything else. With Ollama, we are going to use Llama 3, once again running locally. And along with this, we are going to use the MySQL connecting the database, and that's all these things will be visible on this Streamlit UI, which is super duper amazing to see how we can run it. So see, this is not just one question, and I can simply say out of this 8, how many are having IT staff title? So I know that there are 8 employees, but from the 8, only 2 are IT staff. So let's see if it will be able to have the conversation memory and can get more from this. And now you can see it says, hey, that's good. I have 2 employees with the title of IT staff. Whoa. And that's how we are going to chat with our MySQL system. So if this video will excites you, then please hit subscribe button, because I come with these kind of amazing AI related videos every week, and that's going to enhance your AI knowledge. And this means after subscribing, you need to hit the like button, which is very important for me, and this is how I get the motivation. If you learned something from this video, consider mentioning this me on any social media platform. You can find it for Bitfumes, you can find it for me, Sarthak Savvy. So it's time to start this video, so let's get started. So let's start with creating the Python virtual environment. So Python 3 virtual environment is now created. And you can see I already have included the SQL file for the database which we are going to use. And you can use it, import just on your MySQL database, and you are good to go. Okay, so once this is done, I'm going to start with creating app.py file. And what we first need, we need to connect to our database, and we are going to do with the help of Langchain. So how this is going to work, basically I'm going to search for Langchain SQL connector, and the first link comes like this. This is the SQL connector link, and here on the quick start you can see it says to connect, you need the Langchain community utility and import the SQL database. Okay, let's do this. So from Langchain, we need to first install it. So pip install Langchain community, which is important. But before that, we need to activate our environment, and environment is activated. And now I'm going to install the Langchain community version, which is very soon available. And while this is doing, I'll say Langchain community dot utilities import SQL database. Now once we have this, we need to create the database. We say db SQL database dot from database URI. Now which database we are going to use? We are using the MySQL database. So we say MySQL URI is equal to, I'm going to use the F string, and we are going to use this so that we can inject different values for this URI. Basically right now I say MySQL plus MySQL connector colon / comes the username colon. After this we should have the password, but in my case password is empty, so I'm not going to write anything. And I say localhost, and again colon 3306, which is the port for MySQL, and finally the database name. Now see, if I go on the MySQL and without password, I say show databases, I have database called RAG text. RAG test is the one which we are going to use. So RAG test. Finally, let's provide it, and I'm going to print the DB which will give us the connection. So I say Python run app.py, and now it says how you can connect to database, basically MySQL, if you don't have the connector. So what we need pip install MySQL connector Python. So this is a very nice library which will going to help us to connect to the MySQL database. Okay, so let's once again run it, and yes, you can see now we have the connection. Great. Okay, so I'm going to create a function which is called connect database, and I'm going to move all these things here. Great. Now this is good, but this database should be accessible out of this function. So I'm going to create a DB variable with initial value as none, and then provide the global DB, which will be now pushed this thing to this DB we have. Now to test it, once again I say database connection and then print DB, and if everything is working, we have it. If I'm not able to connect, then I get none. Great. What next? Since we have the database, it would be good if we can run any query. So let's create a function called run query, which will accept the query and simply return db.run and provide the query. Great. Now let's try to run the query, and I say run query, and here I will provide select. By the way, how I can see what are the things we have. So I say use RAG test, and I say show tables. You can see a lot of tables are here, and let's choose the track. So if I say select count everything from track, now you can see it returned 3503 results. So we say select count of everything from track. Okay, so this should return us the proper value of 350 something. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to run this, and obviously we don't have the connection to the database. So instead of getting this error, we can simply say run this if we have the DB, else return please connect to database. Wow, that's great. Now if we don't have the connection to the database, it says please connect to database, and if I connect to database, I should get the result 3503. Isn't it really great? Yes. So till now we have done very nice thing, which is connecting to our database. And now comes the point of having the LLM model. So I'm going to use the Llama 3 using Ollama right here. So if you don't have the Ollama, you can download it for your operating system. It's super duper easy. Once this is in your system, then if you go on terminal and if you say Ollama list, you should get empty list if you are first time on the Ollama. So these are the models I have, Llama 3 and Llama 2. How I can get the Llama 3 if I don't have? I just need to say Llama pull Ollama pull Llama 3. Once you run this command, you can run the list command after this, and you should see this Llama 3 latest, which is 4.7 GB right now. Okay, now once you have it, then you need to connect to the LLM model. So once again, I will go and search for Langchain, and I will say Ollama chat, because I'm going to connect through Ollama to Llama 3 model. So that's why I need this chat Ollama. And here you can see we need to have this chat models from Ollama, and then we create the new instance of Ollama chat with the model of Llama 3. Okay, so here I'm going to say LLM is equal to chat Ollama, and we need to import it from our Langchain community.chat chat models, import chat Olama like this. Once you have this chat Olama, then you define model, which is Llama 3. Remember, it should be available in your local, otherwise you will get error. Okay, once you have this, then you can try to run this by saying invoke, and you provide the question, what is git. Okay, simple. And I'm going to comment these two and then run this command. So this is obviously interacting with my local Llama 3 model through Olama chat. Great. You can see content says that Git is the version control system, every other thing. And yes, we are able to run the LLM model successfully. But what actually we need? We need to first question about our database. For that, our chat model need to have the database schema. Yes, to get the schema of our database, we need to create another function which say get database schema. Here we say return db dot table get table info. Obviously this is going to be seen if I run it. So I say get database schema, and if I run it, obviously I get error because there is no connection to the DB. And once again I say if DB is there, else please connect to database. Right, so let's connect to the database and see the schema is here. Whole database schema, we are having it. Now we need to pass this schema to our LLM model prompt and then ask the question in the form of SQL query. So what we just want, we want the only SQL query from the LLM model by passing out the whole schema and the question, two things. Now it feels like difficult to create the prompt with the schema and the question because schema will get by running this command or this function. So what we are going to do now, instead of directly adding any question, we need to create a template. Okay, let's go back to the Langchain, and here you see it's creating a chat prompt template, which is we are coming from the Langchain core prompt. Okay, so we don't have the Langchain core, so we need to install it. So pip install Langchain core. This is done. And now I say from Langchain core import chat. I think from Langchain core we say chat. Was it chat? No, prompt. Prompt import chat prompt template. Okay, so chat prompt template will be useful to create the prompt. So I'm going to remove this and I say, hey, I need to create a prompt. Prompt should come from chat prompt template dot from template, and we need to provide the template basically. Now where is the template? Let's create it. Now template will be something like this. Here I say below is the schema of MySQL database. So here we provide the schema. This is the variable we are going to pass. And then I say, please answer user's question in the form of SQL query by looking into the schema for best query schema. Okay, so we have provided the schema. Now we say, hey, this is the question, and the question will be something like this, and that's it. So we have created the template which need two things. Now since we have this prompt, we have this LLM, so let's move this LLM here. Now I say let's create a chain. How do we create a chain? To create the chain, we need to use the Langchain expressive language chain syntax. What that basically means, we have this LLM model, and to pass this prompt to the LLM model, we use this pipe sign. Okay, so let's say chat is prompt pipe sign and the model. Okay, next is finally we say response is equal to chain dot invoke, and while we are invoking, since the template need two things, these two things we can easily pass. So let's first pass the question. So I say, hey, the question is how many tracks we have, in database. Okay, if I run this, let's see what's going to happen. So I say print the response. So I'm going to run it, and you see it first says that, hey, you said that in the template you are going to provide two things. One is question and another is schema. I can see that I received the question, but I have not received the schema. So on the invoke part, just like we provided the question, we also need to provide the schema. And schema we can provide by saying get database schema, running it as a function. Okay, let's now see. We are running this again, and this time we are not getting any error. This means it's working. And finally, you can see we get the content, which says that to find out how many tracks we have in the database, it looks like there is a tracks and a lot of information. And also it has the SQL query, but we don't need any other text. We just want the SQL query. So let's tweak to our template and at last say, please only provide the SQL query and nothing else. This is very important. And here I say SQL query is empty. So this is just a way to tell to the our LLM model that what should do. So you can see now it's just giving us the content, and I say content, and this will only provide the SQL query and nothing else. Okay, that's good, that's nice. And next is we need to run our query which we are getting. Now we already have the query, so we say run query. This is the query we get. So maybe I can say, hey, query is something like this, and then run the query, and I say answer is equal to answer is query result is okay, and I finally run the result and see what's going to happen. So right now I'm saying, hey, connect to database. Obviously we need to connect to database. Once connected, let's see. Now it says, hey, something is wrong. It says there is no tracks table. It's only having track table. So again, we need to tweak to our template, and template says below is the schema of MySQL. Maybe I can write it in a bold letter to push that, hey, this is thing. Please answer the user's question in the form of SQL query. And maybe I can say, please, below is the schema of MySQL. Read the schema carefully and answer the question. Okay. So first we have the schema. We said that read the schema, and it is still giving tracks with a S sign, which is not true. Now you can see I tweaked it a little bit, and I given some example for this LLM model. Like if there is a question like this, then you should create a query something like this. 2 example for LLM, and then I say, hey, it's now your turn. So question is this, what is the query? And above here I have already mentioned that please only provide the SQL query and nothing else. So if I now run, you will see that we are getting this 3503, which is the exact number of tracks in the database. Wow, this is great. We are able to run the query through the LLM model. Okay, so this is good, but it's not that useful. We should convert this response into a natural language. That means we need another LLM prompt and template basically. So let's copy everything from there and paste it. This time I'll say below is the schema of my SQL database. Read the carefully and about the table name and everything, and convert the result into natural language. So here is the schema, and now I say once again I need to provide some example for this. So if the question is this, we get the query, then we get the result. So result is, let's say this is the thing like this, and I say I change it for just for example, and then finally response will be there are 34 albums in the database. That's it. So this is only one example I'm providing. Then I provide the query also, and then I provide the result also, and finally I say give me the response. Okay, so this is how we create the prompt, and in this we need to provide 1, 2, 3, 4 things. So we create the LLM model like this. We have already created, we don't need to repeat ourselves for this. So maybe I can move this at the top like here, and then okay, so we have this, we have created a new prompt, and we say prompt 2, we call it template 2, and yes, we have this. And next we finally say response is equal to LLM dot invoke, sorry, not LLM, we need to create the chain. So chain 2 chain 2 is prompt 2 passing to LLM model, and then we say finally response is equal to chain 2 dot invoke, and here we provide all amazing things. So just like above, we need to provide these two things. Yes, so here we go, but we also need the query, which we already have. Remember, here we have the query, we also have the result. So next we provide the result. Result is this. Let's now say response dot content and see what will be the result. So if I'm saying Python run this, so we get this 3503. Now it's converting it into a natural language answer, and it should be really amazing. See, there are 3503 tracks in the database. Woohoo! So this is how we convert and chat with the database. But things are not finished here. What we are going to do, we are going to use the Streamlit to create a nice UI where we will be able to connect to the database and then chat all these things with the conversation memory. So now first of all, let's convert these things into dedicated functions. So I'm going to create a new function with get query from LLM. This is the thing I'm going to create, and for that I need all these things: the template, the chat, the chain, response, everything, and this should be indented like this. And if it is good, then this means at last we can return response dot content, which will provide us the SQL query. So we can simply say get query from LLM. Now we are going to pass things here, which is like the question. So we pass the question here, QUES question, and we pass it like this. Oops, question we pass, and here we provide the question. like this: get query from LLM, and this is the question we are providing. What next it need? So everything is good. I think LLM model can go out here like this, which we can use inside this function. Okay, so that's right. This is good. So this is the first function we have created. Let's create another function which is like get response for query result, and here we pass things from this level till this level. So I just cut it and paste everything here. Great. So this is how we get this. Now we need the question, we need the query, and the result. So question, query, result. So question will be like this. So let's go, where's this? Yeah, so question, query, result. So here we go, and at last we should return once again response dot content. Great. Next, so we get the query, we get the result. Instead of printing these things, we simply say response is equal to get response for query result of, we have a question. So let's push the question into a variable like this, pass the question here, and question, then query, and then the result. Okay, so things are good. Finally, let's print it and see the response. So run it, and it will going to give me various things. While this is running, I want to install the Streamlit. So pip install Streamlit so that I can get started with Streamlit design, which will give us really nice thing. Okay, it's still taking time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the Streamlit. So from Streamlit, import is Streamlit, import Streamlit, Streamlit has st, and then st dot page configuration will be like page icon comes for this bot, then page title will be like chat with MySQL DB, and the layout will be centered. Great, so this is good. Next is Streamlit sidebar. So I say with Streamlit sidebar, Streamlit title will be connect to database, and then I say Streamlit dot button, which will say connect, and I say connect btn. And now after this we say if connect btn is there, we hit this, then just connect to the database, connect database. That's the only thing. Now you can see we are getting the response of natural language, very nice. And let's run the Streamlit command to have the localhost 8501, and here it's running because it's taking all these things. So see, when Streamlit run the Python file from top to bottom. This means yes, it created all these things, but along with that it's also running this queries we have here. We don't want all these things right now, so let's just comment every other thing, and this means now we can easily go reload this page, and yes, we have this. Now if I click on the connect, it should connect to database, and once we have the connection, we can simply say streamlit.success and say database connected. Okay, so reload this page, click here, and database connected. Now here we need a chat input where we are going to ask our question. So this means here we say Streamlit dot chat input and say ask or simply chat with your MySQL database. Great. So if I hit, yep, we have this. Now here, whatever we write should become the question. Okay, so this means we say this is the question. Okay, that's great. We get the question, and now we have this question. Finally, we need a way to run this. So now say that if we have the question, then we need to run the query. So first we get the query, then we get the response, all of these things. So it says like, yes, once you have the question, then you get the question, pass it to get the query. Once you have the query, then you get the result. Once you have the result, you get the response, and finally you say Streamlit dot markdown and provide the response here. And also here Streamlit dot chat message for user, and then say markdown of question, and same here chat message for assistant. Okay, let's see. Connect the database, and now I say how many tracks we have in the database. Let's see how it will return. We get this response, which is obviously not good. So basically this schema is not proper and we are not able to get this. And why is this? Because the database connection happened here, but that is not passed to our functions where we say get database schema. So in order to do that, yes, you can obviously connect it when you are writing the question, or instead of using this DB as global variable, what I'm going to do, since I have the Streamlit, I can say Streamlit dot session dot DB. So I'm putting the DB connection in the session of our Streamlit. This means I can simply say, hey, if something like this, we have the DB connection in the session, then run the query, and same for our database schema, and everything is there. And also when we hit the question, say if DB is I can say not in session, then Streamlit dot error and say please connect database first. Okay, that's good. Else we provide every other thing. Great. So it's done. Let's reload this page, and we are running this without any connection. It says please connect the database first. So let's click on connect. Then if I say hey, run this, and now I'm not getting any error for please connect the database, and this should return a proper response now. So cool is this? You can see we are getting 3503 tracks in database. Now let's tweak it and say how many customers are from Brazil we have in the database. So you can see it's overlapping the question. We want the chat to be happen. That means again we need the session to hold all the conversation, the Streamlit session. So let's do this once we get the response. Okay, now we have some problem. It says 0 customer, but I know that there are some customer from the Brazil. So first of all, we need to see where is the problem. So we can print the query. We can also print the result so that we can actually verify what happening here. So let's once again run the same command like this, and this is going to query. So see here it says 5 customers are from Brazil, and here it says some different thing. So basically we need to tweak our template and say your turn to write response in natural language using I can say from the given answer, or I can say given result. Okay, let me try it once again. So let's do this. And finally, you can see it says 5 customer, which is absolutely right. Great. So we need to do 2 things. One is having the chat conversation, and second, connecting to any database. So first of all, let's connect the database to any database. So remove this, and with the sidebar, let's create some things. So we need the input text, text input, where we say, hey, we need to define the label. Label says host, and it also need the key of host. And once we add the key to any text label, it will be available in the session. So once again, we need another thing for port, and port is, we need the default value. So port is obviously 3306, and host default value is localhost, and then we provide the username. So username, which is root by default, and finally the password, which is coming password, and for now it's empty, and this is not a text input but a password input, or maybe I can provide the type as password. Yes. Okay, so we have port. What are the things we need? So we need the root, username, oh, basically the real thing, the database name. So text input once again, and we should do something like this. RAG test is the database name. So database and database. Great. So once we click on the connect, then it should come here, and on the database connection we pass all these things. And since this is in the session state, we don't have to pass. If you don't want, then it would be good. So maybe I can get this. So I can say username, then I say port, host, password, and database. Okay, so since we have the F string, it's really nice to hold everything. So we say username comes here, then comes password, then comes host, then comes port, and finally the database. Great. And now here I pass every other thing. So I say username will be session.username. And similar to this, I need to provide some of other things like port, like host, like password, and finally the database. Okay, so this is going to create the connection through the detail I provide. So let's go here, reload the page, and every other thing is good. Click on connect, and now it says it's not going to be the post, it should be port. Port, like this. Okay, one more time, click on connect, and it says database connected. Let's query something, and how many customers are from Brazil. And great, you can see we are getting the 5 customers from Brazil. Finally, we need this to be in the chat section. So whenever we add the question, then instead of pushing it into the chat directly, we are going to put it in the session state.chats, and I can say chat.append, and appending as role of user, and then content as the question. And we can use this same thing for our assistant, and content is the response. Now once we have these things in our session, it's very easy to loop through every chat in the session. So session state dot chat, and then we say, hey, we need to show this where we have chat content and chat role. And remember to add or initialize this session here. So I say if chat not in st session, then initialize this session dot chat as empty. Great, things are looking really nice, and make sure to tweak your template as needed, because sometimes it creates some different response. It can be some error. So let's try it out in our Streamlit. Connect to the database. Let's search for how many employees we have in our database, and that's great. You can see we are saying that 8 employees. Now I want more information from this thing, so I'll say how many of these are having title of, let's say, IT staff. This is obviously in the database, and if it's working fine, then it should create a nice query which will look something like this, which I have already tried. So select everything from employee where title is IT staff, and it says 2, so response should be nice, which says based on the schema and provide. I can see there is no name. Sometimes things are not that good, so I will try once again. I'll try once again and see what will be the result, because this can be a good thing or an opportunity to tweak our prompt and the template we have, which is going to be really nice. So once again, it should created that it's getting the response. So see, SQL query is really nice. We just want to tweak the response of the thing, which should get the number and return us proper response. And this time it says, hey, there are only 2 employees in the database with the title of IT staff. That's relatively small, mighty group. This is kind of things we have created. Whoa, it's so amazing to see that we can now able to interact with the MySQL database through the LLM models. The powerful the LLM model is, the conversation will be really crisp and amazing. Okay, if you got something from this video, if you learned something from this video, consider subscribing. Hit that subscribe button, which is very important for me. And the second important thing is like button, because that number of like count gives me the motivation to create more videos just like this. If you have any question related to this video or any other video, comment below. You will find all the source code in the GitHub repository, so go check out and give me shout out on any social media platform at Sarthak Savvy. You can just say that, hey, I learned this thing from Sarthak, tag me, and I'm going to reshare it for you. So see you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.